wood? Well, kind of like a biome. We are a little bit long overdue for a wood type now. It's been ages since we got a new one. Honestly, this is probably like my favorite, or tied with the Skyland, for a biome that I wish could come to the game. If I could live in fall time forever, oh man, you bet your bottom dollar I would. I can talk about biomes all day long, but today we'll wrap it here. The last, and definitely not least, the Badlands biome. Now look, for this one, instead of a new biome...
Damn it, son of a bitch. What's going on, YouTube? How we feeling today? My hair is fucked. That's okay.
This is what the world's most advanced PC looks like.
This is my favorite day.
Last week was the second year of Fallout Day, and this didn't go over super well. Bethesda's yearly Fallout celebration was met with quite a bit of fan backlash. I mean, people literally started throwing tomatoes during the stream. Not great. But in the week since, nearly every online discussion around the event is criticizing it, the franchise, or even Bethesda in some way. But is all of this justified? Are these just more gamers getting mad over nothing, or do fans have good reason to be upset right now? One of the big things I praised Bethesda for this Fallout Day is transparency. Even from the initial Fallout Day announcement, they described news around their existing Fallout games. And they even laid this out more clearly the day before the event. After the first warning didn't seem to heed the expectations, they went point by point and mentioned what exactly would be here, and very clearly a new Fallout game or a Fallout 3 Remastered is not on this list. But I mean, hey, even if Bethesda's own posts weren't enough, we even saw leaks tempering expectations. As Nate the Hate, who leaked the Fallout 3 Remaster in the first place, and Oblivion for that matter, said he didn't think the Fallout 3 Remaster would be at this event, and a ton of articles covered this. So the simple reality is, if you went into Fallout Day expecting a new Fallout game, that's kind of on you. That was a totally unrealistic expectation, and even Bethesda was telling you that. But I do feel like all of this is touching on a much larger issue with Bethesda and really their handling of the Fallout franchise, which I guess in some ways we can also kick up the blame to Xbox as well now. Like, yeah, sure, it's entirely unrealistic for this year's Fallout Day, or even next year's Fallout Day, and maybe even the one after that, to debut a new mainline or even spin-off Fallout game. But that kind of is the problem, isn't it? At this point, outside of a remake, it's looking really grim for us to get a new Fallout game in the 2020s. It's looking like Bethesda might just skip that decade, which just so happens to be the period of time where Fallout has been more popular than ever. Over the past few years, we've seen a complete resurgence of the games thanks to the insanely popular TV show. And even beyond that, it's not even like it was a full-on resurgence. The games were still popular, they're just much more popular now. But when it comes to Fallout Day, fans of those things didn't really get anything new. An event like Fallout Day right now feels like it's doomed to be a huge disappointment with a major portion of the audience because the content that audience want simply isn't ready yet. I mean, okay, Season 2 actually did come exceptionally fast. Prime was working very diligently there. I am hopeful the quality does hold as well. And the TV show skipping Fallout Day is probably not Bethesda's fault. I imagine they did want a new trailer at this event and Prime probably said no. But Bethesda and Xbox are in control on the game side, and on that side, things just feel bad. Like, I know for me, it's genuinely difficult to get hyped around Fallout when we have no idea when the next major game is coming. I can make arguments right now for why 2028, but also 2032 are perfectly realistic dates for the next mainline entry in the series, or even spin-off entry. When things are simply that unknown and uncertain, it's hard to get excited about the future. I think really that's the biggest issue, the core of the problem and this disconnect we're seeing between the Fallout fanbase and Bethesda and these events. But even beyond all of that, like I touched on in my reaction video to it, one of the other big issues was the actual content of the Fallout Day stream. It's all monetized. Happy 10-year anniversary to Fallout 4, you can now buy a bunch of new stuff. Fallout 4 Anniversary Edition hasn't even had its cost revealed yet, but seemingly does have a cost, and frankly, the new content wasn't very exciting. Okay, the Switch 2 release is genuinely nice, but it's not here yet. It's coming next year. Oh yeah, and Fallout 4 is getting a paid mods update. I'm a big believer that $10 paid mods that are similar to DLCs from high quality mod authors or even mod teams, which is something we're starting to see happen, is something I can support. I support $10 DLC sized mods. I'll buy that. I know some aspects sects of the community don't, but I do. But paid mods will never go over well with gaming overall because it's something that started free, and even more importantly, has a ton of free options already. For a ton of people on PC, their only interaction with paid mods is negative. It's having to update a bunch of their own free mods when a new paid mods update comes out. There is a subset of players that does enjoy this content. They see a new paid creation and get excited even before they know what it is, but that's a niche audience, and I think Bethesda should be aware that this stage, the people you're hitting with a Fallout Day stream, isn't touching on that audience. We're not hitting the people that love paid mods, you're hitting the people that don't love paid mods. And then of course there was the New Vegas fake out, celebrating New Vegas' anniversary not with a remastered game or any type of new game content, but instead a $150 statue that doesn't actually ship until next year. Oh yeah, and it doesn't even come with New Vegas, you get the game codes via email. The New Vegas 15th Anniversary Edition ships closer to the 16th anniversary. This is a very transparent version of monetizing an anniversary with a product that simply wasn't ready yet. And I feel like embedded within all of this was a certain degree of disconnect that was just felt through the stream. Fallout 4 is getting a paid mods update. Todd Howard talked about reading all of these comments. You know this aspect of the stream isn't going to go over well with a major part of the community, and it's one of the biggest announcements from the stream. Maybe try to sell it a little better. You can acknowledge the dislike of paid mod content, but showcase how cool it can be also. They just casually dropped that Nate and Nora voice actors are returning for some kind of experience. I think if they spent a bit more time here, showing off whatever this is, or, maybe even letting us hear the new voice lines clearly, this audience might have reacted a bit more positively. As a simple example, here's one of the trailers a creator team made.
You don't mind getting your hands dirty.
Nope.
So you want to become a bounty hunter, do you? Introduce Charles Jeff-Revolve.
Many of you still won't be interested, but that has a lot more potential to get people hyped about this upcoming paid mod. Paid mods are an uphill battle, but actually acknowledging that and trying to create content knowing that feels like it would go over a lot better than just this quick slideshow of, oh yeah, here's all the paid content. People don't like that kind of stuff. Even further, the number one comment I get when I talk about new Fallout 4 updates is around expanded mod space and fixes for some of what was broken in last year's updates. I would suspect some of these fixes or changes are coming. Fallout 4's paid mod update very well may include a mod space upgrade. It seems like the game in general will be getting an update, and I just have no idea why it wasn't mentioned at all in the stream. The community very transparently cares about all of this stuff, and certain changes would paint this update in a very different light for a lot of players. And I think the same is true for the New Vegas re-release. A lot of people will gladly spend $150 on this. A lot of people won't. A lot of people will find it insulting either way, but the way this was presented was the worst part. Something like this is probably getting backlash either way, but it got a lot more backlash due to how it was showcased. And just to pause here, even if you are a Fallout fan who tuned into the show with money to spend on some cool new content, for a lot of the community, these are literally the worst possible options as far as paid content goes. Paid mods are controversial, Bethesda knows that. We didn't even get a price or explicit details on Fallout 4's Anniversary Edition, and the New Vegas situation, yeah, that's just bad. Fallout 76 and Fallout Shelter did have new free content supported by optional paid stuff, which honestly is fine. For fans of these communities, this is mostly cool. The new seasons and Battle Pass for Fallout Shelter do seem monetization heavy, but it's a free-to-play mobile game, so I do understand it a bit more. I think when it came to Fallout 76, a lot of what they showcased was just cool. I actually liked that aspect of the stream. Let's face it, those games appeal to a different audience. There's a lot of overlap. I think most Fallout fans at this point have played and enjoyed both Fallout 76 and Fallout Shelter for some amount of time, and if you haven't, definitely give them a try. They're both fun. But in my opinion, there is this insanely valuable and massive Fallout fanbase that does exist, and Fallout 76 and Fallout Shelter aren't those people's favorite games. They want a new single-player Fallout experience. At this point, I don't even really think it matters who's making that single-player Fallout experience. Anything would get people excited. We want a Fallout 3 or New Vegas remake, and one done properly. Oblivion Remastered is definitely cool, but it could be so much more. The game seemingly has stopped getting support after just a couple of updates, and it never even got a full-fledged modding scene. A full-on remake with proper support is the treatment that these incredible incredible games deserve, and I really hope that comes to fruition with Fallout 3, although I'm not holding my breath after Oblivion. And of course, Fallout 5, or really any kind of new spin-off Fallout game, is what fans truly want. And I guess the issue is, what's Bethesda really supposed to do here? They're so commonly praised for their incredibly short reveal to release timeline. Should they start breaking that like they did with Starfield and the Elder Scrolls 6 trailer? Those two things I see consistently criticized, so from their perspective, it does seem almost like an impossible situation. Tease too early and people are upset, but if nothing is ready yet, what's there to tease? And in my opinion, the solution is there, and it's just blueprinting off what's working for other people. I heard Bethesda is working on a Fallout 3 remaster. You've seen it on this leaked roadmap, and you've seen other people leak it as well. Why not tease that? You don't have to say anything explicitly in the stream, but give us an ARG or just some kind of light tease. Something for fans to dig into. Imagine if when Todd Howard cut to this scene when he mentioned they were working on some other things for the future, the crowd noise in the background was actually crowd noise from Fallout 3. Or hey, maybe somewhere on this screen it leads us to a secret website that has some codes and eventually leads to a super early screenshot of a Fallout 3 remastered. Or maybe just the words Fallout 3 remastered, that's probably a bit more realistic. CDPR has been using this formula to major success. I've covered lots of these ARGs, and the videos do super well. Gamers love secrets, and well, yeah, my videos alone aren't the best metric for broader gamer interest. It's the example I can go off of, and I mean, even here, I made a video about Fallout 4 secrets almost 1 year ago exactly, and it has over 1 million views now. This is a decade-old game, and people are still interested in the secrets around it. I honestly think even just a small tease from Bethesda would go a super long way with the community. Other communities have versions of this day, like N7 Day. They're already using this formula successfully. Imagine they tease the location of Fallout 5. Literally no other detail, just that it's in San Francisco. Or hey, even just that it's in California somewhere. That would literally fuel online discussions for years, and make the wait until Fallout 5 a lot more bearable for a lot of people. Look how much the mere mention of a city like Chicago did for the Cyberpunk sequel. They didn't even actually say it would take place in Chicago. They just said a city like that, and it still got tons of hype. But even beyond that, if you're going to do a Fallout Day, maybe save announcements for that day. I went to a really cool Fallout 76 event. Imagine my hands-on preview of the new update also dropped on Fallout Day. Make the embargo lift a few hours after the stream, and maybe even tease during the stream, hey, all of your favorite creators are posting something cool later today. So to me, there definitely are issues with Fallout Day right now, but I think it could get a lot better relatively easily. I think Bethesda just needs to reevaluate what the community actually cares about and wants to hear about. They are running into a certain issue with the games not being ready, but I think they're running into issues even beyond that are solvable. I think with the 2025 Fallout Day in particular, yeah, some aspect of the community would have always been pissed off because you don't have Fallout 5 ready, but another aspect of the community is needlessly picked off just due to the packaging. And I think if you just repackaged all of these exact same announcements and maybe even sprinkle in a few others, the stream goes over a lot better. I mean, at the end of the day, there's clearly a ton of hype based off these viewership numbers. At the same time, I think if Bethesda is going to do a day like this, you have to have stuff saved for it. And hey, maybe just tease a future game for once. If this Bethesda leaked roadmap is to be believed, and a Fallout 3 remaster is dropping just 2 years after the Oblivion remaster, which hypothetically puts its release date at 17 months away from now, why are you not doing a small tease or even just a verbal mention of this game? Like, I think a lot of people just want to know you're working on something. A Fallout 3 remaster has already leaked very publicly. Teasing this one early feels incredibly safe to me. As long as they're clear, it's still a ways away. But at the same time, the community definitely did create some poor expectations for themselves. This was a case where Bethesda communicated about the event beforehand very clearly. As a content creator, I really appreciated that. But it did seem like much of the community either didn't see it or just chose to ignore it and create false expectations for themselves. With that in mind, I am hopeful things around Fallout Day will only improve going forward. At the end of the day, this is only year 2, and as we get closer to a Fallout game actually coming out, these events will only get better. But if you're interested in more Fallout content, check out these videos.
As of this recording, there are over 1,300 farmable items in Minecraft. That's a lot, right? Maybe too many for one video. The majority of them don't really need a farm anyway, but there are quite a few that can be really helpful to set up in your world. Today I'm going to show you over 30 different farms that I've made in my multiple worlds. Before we start, I will preface this by saying a lot of these farms are not my own design, so there will be timestamps for each farm in the description along with the tutorial that I used, or a video of my own if I made it myself. Personally, I'm more of a builder and I usually like to cover up my farms so that they look nice, so maybe you'll get some ideas there too. But without further ado, let's begin. Something I think every player should build in their world is a creeper farm, unless you don't plan on using an elytra, of course. But when you get to a certain point in the game, flying just becomes the norm, so having an unlimited supply of rockets is going to be really useful. Plus, you can craft tons of TNT, and who doesn't want that? Now, to make rockets, you also need paper, so a sugarcane farm is going to be a must too. You can get your hands on quite a lot of this stuff manually by building a big old field of it and punching away. But the farms are usually super simple and definitely worth the time investment. Maybe there's other mobs you would like to farm too, not just creepers, and in that case I'd recommend building a hostile mob farm, just like this one here. It's not the easiest to cover up, so I would suggest building it out of sight from your base. Not only does this produce and kill creepers, but skeletons, spiders, zombies, and witches too. So if any of these drops seem useful, aside from the gunpowder, a general mob farm might be for you. Now this probably isn't something you will build in the first few days of your world, but the drops can be super handy in the early game. Bones for bone mealing your crops, for example. So if you're lucky enough to find a dungeon whilst mining, you can turn it into a farm too. There are 4 common spawners you're likely to find: skeletons, zombies, spiders, and cave spiders. String and bones are great, but rotten flesh, maybe not so much. But don't let that stop you from turning it into a farm anyway for the experience, allowing you to kickstart your enchanting. It is worth mentioning that as long as you can kill the mobs by hand in any sort of farm, you can get XP from them. Just something to keep in mind. The next farm is a like and subscribe farm. Super efficient and very easy to build so long as you've got some lovely viewers who are enjoying the video. Thanks guys. Another farm that's super helpful to build in the early game is an AFK fish farm. These used to be the go-to source for mending books whilst you got started, until they buffed villager trading of course, but it can still be pretty nifty to have. Plus they're insanely easy to build. So much so they're a little bit of a controversial topic for the Minecraft community. Some people like them, some people don't, but you do you. It doesn't matter. If you want to improve on the efficiency of your cow, sheep or pig pen that you've got set up, you can semi-automate it a bit, and it's actually super simple. Basically, you put them all into a one wide hole, water bobs them up and down so you can easily breed them, and then the entity cramming does the rest. Just make sure to pop down a hopper underneath to catch all of the drops. A farm that I build in all of my worlds is an iron farm. It always surprises me just how much iron is used in so many different crafting recipes. Having to go out and mine all of it gets real old real quick. Having a constant stream of the stuff is much better. It doesn't even have to be uber efficient, just a trickle coming through will still help you out. It does require villagers however, so why not set up a villager farm, aka a villager breeder. And if you've got one of those, well you may as well just make an entire villager trading hall, which is basically just a farm for all of these items that you can get through trading. Seriously, if you plan on keeping your world for a while, a good villager trading hall is going to go a long way. Similarly to villager trading, we have piglin bartering, which also produces some incredibly helpful drops such as quartz, gravel, obsidian, string, and many more. This is my own design and it's really satisfying to watch. Not only are the new ingots dispensed immediately after the piglins are done with the old ones, but you can also watch the redstone ticking around along with the minecart whizzing past at the top. Almost makes me not want to go AFK. The only downside to these is that it sorta needs a gold farm to be built alongside it. Now, you don't have to connect them exactly, but you are going to need a good supply of gold ingots to give to the piglins, so a gold farm might have to be on your list too. This is probably my most useful farm in my world for a number of reasons. Not only can it give me an insane amount of XP just for standing around, but it also produces, as you may have guessed, a whole lot of gold. Perfect for bartering of course, but it also makes for easy beacon based building blocks, saves you having to save up all of your resources just to get haste too. They can take a while to construct, but they're definitely worth it in my opinion. There's actually a few more farms that you can build in the nether, such as a hoglin farm. It does require you to get onto the bedrock ceiling. There's many videos out there to show you how, but once you've broken your way through, it is stupidly easy to build and yields an insane amount of leather and cooked pork chops, which is a pretty solid food source. Another one that certainly has its benefits is a blaze farm. They can be a little tricky to build given the blaze's persistence to spawn, but once it's done, you pretty much have unlimited fuel, which means you can kiss goodbye to coal and switch over to blaze rods. Or maybe you like to use fossil fuels for some reason. Well, instead of mining them, you can build a wither skeleton farm. Now, I'm not gonna lie, when I built this, it took me a very long time, mainly because of all of the spawn proofing that was needed. It does give you lots of coal and bones, as well as way more wither skeleton skulls than you know what to do with. Unless of course you want to start using beacons to decorate, and in that case, I don't think you have a choice than to actually build this farm. Now there's a whole bunch of different plants that you can farm in this game. I'm sure most of them are pretty well known, so let's rattle through the list now. Of course we have wheat, carrot, potato and beetroot. You can automate this process by putting farmer villagers to work, using water to wash away the crops, or even building some micro farms, which I'll touch on again in a bit. We've previously mentioned sugarcane, but there's also bamboo, now more helpful than ever considering it can be crafted into wood. You can get a whole bunch of this stuff by piecing together a flying machine to ram through it all. Of course there's pumpkin and melon farms too, very helpful for trading with villagers. Cactus if you need lots of that for some reason. I've actually got a pretty large one in my current world alongside my bamboo farm, but I'm not keeping any of the drops. They all go into this furnace here. The bamboo is smelting the cactus, and the XP gained for each smelt is stored inside of the furnace, so I can let it gather and collect a whole bunch of it at once. It's a super quick way to repair your tools. Lastly, for plants we have berries. There are others, I've just never built a farm for them, but this is my berry micro farm. Basically it uses bone meal to constantly grow new berries as you pick them. That's pretty much the whole concept of these specific type of micro farms. Obviously you do need a good supply of bone meal, but if you have that, it can be a great way to get a whole bunch of crops. Wheat for example. It'll be much quicker than the other ways of farming it. You can also use micro farms on 2-tool flowers, but sadly not the small ones. For that you need to find an area of land with the flowers that you want. I think the best method is to build one of these ground moving farms. It places bone meal on the grass and then the pistons push the ground back and forth and continuously breaks everything on top. If you switch out the center blocks for some nylium, you can also grow a lot of the nether plants this way too. Just make sure you don't do what I did and assume you know how flowers generate and make an entire farm and build without testing it first, only to find out that you're getting like 3 flower types. I'll leave a good tutorial in the description, one that I probably should have followed. There is also a great moss farm, just like the moving floor flower farm, that's a tongue twister if I've ever heard one, that produces tons of moss. Super handy if you plan to build with a lot of it and you don't want all of the other bits getting in the way. One of my absolute favourite blocks to build with is dark prismarine. The only trouble is it's not cheap to make, and so the best way to gain access to this lovely block along with prismarine, sea lanterns and prismarine bricks is to build a guardian farm. I've actually made a few of these before. 2 times I drained the surrounding ocean. Spoiler alert, it takes forever, and it's not even needed anymore with current designs. This one right here is super simple, way less invasive on your time, and also produces a nice amount of ink sacs too. Very helpful for crafting all of that dark prismarine. You can also turn the Guardian farm into an XP farm, depending on the design that you use, but if you just want XP and you're looking for something a bit simpler, then an Enderman farm might be what you're looking for. Of course, it does mean that you need to get to the end and kill the dragon, but once you've done that, you have the ability to make a really easy to build, super efficient source of XP. In fact, you can turn almost every mob-related farm into an XP source, but there are definitely some that are better than others based on the drops that you get. Like a raid farm, for example. I'm not even going to begin to explain how this farm works other than it makes a whole bunch of pillagers and evokers fall pretty much right on top of your sword. It's great for XP of course, but mainly you get a ton of emeralds, so if you just have a handful of villagers that you like to trade with as opposed to a full-blown trading hall, a good supply of emeralds can come in pretty handy to do the odd trade every now and again. I've just got 2 more hostile mob farms to mention, the first one being a witch farm that drops all sorts of goodies, but the main one being redstone. Now this may just look like a giant frog, and it is, but it's also covering up my small witch farm. And as someone who rarely uses redstone, a farm of this size is pretty much perfect for me. If I need a little bit, I can just go AFK for a while and get a few stacks. I know there are much bigger designs out there though, that are much more efficient if you think you need it. The other hostile mob is a slime, which only produces slime balls, so once again this farm is heavily aimed at you redstoners, because to my knowledge, there isn't many more uses to slime other than making slime blocks for redstone machines. At least nothing you need in mass quantities. A bee farm is something that's going to be useful for both redstoners and builders. It will allow you to get a whole bunch of honey blocks for your redstone doohickeys, but also tons of honeycomb for waxing your copper in a build. Plus the ability to craft honeycomb blocks if you fancy using them. Not forgetting honey bottles as a food source, although I don't think they're that great a choice personally. What I would recommend instead is a chicken farm perhaps. This is an auto chicken cooker, which continuously works in the background, spawning chickens and cooking them the second they grow up. Okay, maybe it's not the most humane farm, but I can't say any of the others really have been either. It's actually my own design and I'm pretty proud of it. Compacting redstone is not my forte, and I think I've done an okay job here. The final farm to mention is a sheep farm, or more specifically, a wool farm. I find wool is something you don't need all that often, but when you do, you have virtually none of it, especially if you need a colour that isn't white. So having one ticking away in the background is certainly a good idea. Both of these are sort of my own design, at least as far as the layout is concerned, but the bare bones of the farm is what's used in almost every design. You stick a sheep in a hole with some grass. When it eats the grass, the observer detects it and fires the dispenser filled with shears, giving the sheep a nice little haircut. You can then choose what to do with the drops after. Maybe shoot them out into a big old hole with a glass ceiling so you can watch it work. Very satisfying. So there we go everybody, that is at least 30 farm ideas for your Minecraft world. I hope you found some that are going to be helpful for you, and of course don't forget to check out the description for the links to all of the tutorials. Thank you ever so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.
Oh no.
Are you tired of waking up tired? The Temper Luxe Adapt mattress has 30% more conforming support, and the Temper Ergo Pro Smart base automatically adjusts to help stop snoring.
Your driver's ed have an automatic in it.
I learned to drive before driver's ed.
Like 8 years ago.
No, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, 8 years ago when I got my learner's permit, but but having a manual one for a track car, I think it just makes it way more fun. It's kind of easy because if you know the parts that you're gonna do, you can just you can go on Summit Racing's website, find all the parts, and just buy them because you know that those are for that car and what they are, and you know they're gonna be legal, and then you can just get them and go and put them on and race. See what this thing can do.
Whoa!
Okay, so we're back from our test drive, and we have strapped our 2008 Mustang GT onto the chassis dyno because we want to see how much power it's going to make at the wheels before we start doing our upgrades. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Start her up. Let's do this thing.
Brake is off.
Everything's good? All right. Let her rip, Tater Chip.
This is way different than the test sled.
I don't have a lot of expectation, but we're going to find out.
Get her up around 2,000-ish.
Not bad. 244 for power.
Oh.
270 pound-feet.
Spicy.
I'm not actually sure what these things are supposed to make.
Well,
That's probably about right, I guess, for a 4.6.
sure. Well, I mean, we could do one more if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, now we were driving around,
Yeah,
so all the fluids and stuff have been warm. But yeah, back it up real quick, and we'll see what it does.
Let's see if we make another one here.
Yeah.
It's so nice in here. It's so nice and quiet.
I mean, yeah, for no mufflers, it's actually not bad.
Yeah, here we go. Let me get her up on 2. We'll whack it again here.
So that's probably more realistic. 278 horsepower and 283 pound-feet.
I'd buy that for $1.
I mean, that's not a bad graph. It's, it trends right. It's got a little ups and downs there, which, that could just be from the not stock exhaust or something like that.
Sure.
But all in all, I mean, that's not horrible.
We know it has no mufflers.
No, and yeah, it's got no mufflers and it's got some kind of weird, intake system on it. But like with those numbers, I kind of doubt it has a tune or anything, so that's not a big deal. And I mean, it seems to run fine. It drove fine out on the street. So.
Everything doesn't smell weird, doesn't act weird, doesn't sound weird.
Nothing's caught on fire, so.
And nothing's caught on fire. All right, we're gonna call that baseline.
Yeah, get her unstrapped and start doing upgrades.
Easy peasy.
Up next on Ninja Power, we get rolling on our Mustang project, so grab a seat, stay tuned.
Yeah, what he said, mine still needs some work. After a successful chassis dyno session, we know exactly what our Mustang makes at the tire, and that's a number we're going to try and improve on a little bit later. But first off, we're going to focus on the safety aspect of this car. We're going to make some changes inside here that not only make the car safer, they make it function better as a race car on the track. And to get that done, I am going to stay out of the way and let Frankie handle all of that.
Yeah, move it or lose it. First thing we're going to do is get these really nice, but not very practical leather seats out of the way so we can start our modifications. We'll unbolt the seat from the floor and tip it back, allowing us to access the power seat and airbag connectors. We did unhook the battery prior to starting any work, and with those unplugged, we can pull the seat completely out of the car. The passenger side follows pretty much the same process. We will continue stripping the interior by removing the lower and upper seat back sections, removing the B-pillar and rear quarter trim, and gently unplugging and unbolting the front seat belts. With the carpet rolled up out of the way, we can remove the bolts from these side body braces. They are heavily seam sealed to the body of the car, so a thin scraper and a hammer can break through the adhesive. Then we pry them out to finish our interior removal. Okay, so now that we have most of the interior out of our Mustang, we can show you why we took it out. And that's because we're going to be installing a roll bar from Maximum Motorsports. They supplied this kit, which is for a 2005 to 2014 Mustang, and this is a robust bolt-in roll bar that makes it really easy to install. It's made of 1 3/4 inch 134 wall tubing. It has a bolt-in harness bar, a diagonal brace to make it legal. It bolts right where the supports that we took out of the car go, and it only needs these rear braces to be welded, mostly just to make it easy to ship. And so this should be pretty easy to install, should fit our Mustang great, and give us the safety we need.
To start the install, we'll bolt in these fabricated body braces that will be the front mounts for the roll bar. The roll bar can be carefully snaked into the car, and these 2 rear braces can be slid on before it's laid in place. With the bolts in the front mounts, we can mark out the area where the rear mounts meet the wheel well and remove the rear braces. This way we can heat up and scrape away the sound deadening. With rear bars mocked up again, we will carefully drill starting holes through the threads in the bracket and through the wheel well.
To get to the outside wheel well, the car goes up on the lift and the rear wheels are removed. We'll increase the size of the holes we drill to accept some 3/8 bolts supplied with the kit and install the backing plates for the rear mounts. Now that everything is fully bolted in mock-up mode, we will use our Forney TIG welder to tack the rear supports in place. Then the assembly can be unbolted and removed in one piece, and the rear braces can be fully MIG welded in place.
To give it a clean look and protect it from corrosion, we will paint all the pieces in our prep booth. After wiping everything down with lacquer thinner, a coat of primer will give a great adhesive base before laying down a few coats of matte black paint to give it a nice clean look.
When the paint dries, everything gets installed for the final time, including the original trim panels that have been notched for the rear support bars, so we can keep the stock interior and have a clean appearance inside the car. So we have our roll bar reinstalled for real in our Mustang, and we have put together some of the back seat. So the next thing we're going to do in the safety department is seats, because to be legal for the class, we need a fixed back racing seat. So we already have the driver's side figured out and installed for real. And the way we did it is we actually used the stock seat mounting locations by building some brackets out of 1/8" steel. We gusseted them up and bent them up so we can put them in the stock locations in case we ever want to put this car back with the stock seats. So all we have to do now is mount up the passenger seat and get it bolted down.
This Summit Racing bucket seat gets placed on top of the mounts, and we can use some locking clamps to hold it in position. Once we have it exactly where we want, we can drill 4 mounting holes through the seat and bracket to bolt it in with some 10mm hardware.
All right, so we did get a set of matching seat covers for the Summit Racing seats, and with that, we're pretty much there on safety modifications. We will add some belts, but for safety, I think we're good. So we're gonna move on to performance modifications.
That's what I'm talking about.
It's my favorite part.
With all of our safety and interior upgrades complete, it's time to shift gears into adding more performance. And that will include some engine tuning and getting those spent exhaust gases out more efficiently.
All right, we are back on our 2008 Mustang, and we are moving on to performance modifications. But like we mentioned before, there are some questionable upgrades under the hood, and this is what we're talking about. This car previously had a cold air intake put on it. It was on there when we bought it, but there are some pieces missing. Mainly, there's supposed to be a divider wall that goes here and separates the filter from all the hot engine bay air, and the filter clearly has not been maintained. It honestly looks like it's been beat up in a bar fight or something. And the last piece here is this connection that's supposed to go to the crankcase ventilation, but honestly, someone just drove a pipe plug in there. So all that is really not good for business.
But rather than mess with all of that stuff, we decided to get a whole new kit from Summit Racing Equipment. It's a brand new cold air kit, and best of all, it comes with a flash tuner. So once we get our new cold air kit installed, we'll run the flash tuner in and hopefully pick up a few more horsepower at the wheels. And best of all, this is super easy to install.
With all the missing pieces, it's pretty easy to remove the old system. All we have to do is unplug the map sensor, loosen the hose clamps, and the whole assembly can come out as one piece. These 2 bolts in the left valve cover get removed and then reinstalled with this clamp bracket sandwiched beneath them. Then a bolt in the radiator shroud can be removed, and the air divider can be bolted in the same space with the hardware from the kit. The air tube gets slid over the throttle body, the crankcase ventilation is hooked up correctly to make it carb compliant, and finally, the inlet cone and filter can be installed. Simple as that.
We are taking a bit of a break to get out of the way for the guys from Wrapped Up to come in and lay down some sweet custom graphics to make our weekend race car a bit racier. They are laying down some matte black racing stripes from front to back, a side stripe above the rocker, along with some custom branded graphics.
All right, so now we have this awesome decal package on this car, and it really looks like a performance car, but we still have some performance upgrades to go. Namely, the next one we're gonna tackle is the shifter, because if you're building one of these cars, you're kind of limited on what you can do, but there are things you can do to up the performance feel of the car, and one of those is a short throw shifter, and that is an easy task that we're gonna handle right now. Removing the stock shifter knob and boot is super simple, and we will also remove this cover panel just to get it out of the way. Only 3 fasteners have to be removed to get the shifter loose, and then a single nut holds on the shifter linkage. Then the car goes back down, and we go back up. Getting the shifter out takes some patience, but it can't be snaked up through the trans tunnel hole. After switching a few bushings onto the...
Don't go nowhere. I'm back, chat.
New Hurst shifter, it can slide into the same position. Just like that. Now, back underneath the car.
We go back underneath to bolt in the new shifter assembly and reattach the linkage. Then everything is done, so we can go back in the car and install the new polished shifter stick. The trim piece can be reinstalled, and then this included boot retainer gets slid on the stick to hold the stock shifter boot in place. The final piece de resistance is the white shifter ball that gets aligned and tightened down. Next up for our Mustang project is the exhaust system. As per the SCCA rules for this class, it requires the car to have a full exhaust system, including cats and mufflers. So we picked up this new one from Summit Racing Equipment, and it's going to work great. It fits an 05 through 09 Mustang, and it's a bolt-in operation. It's made out of 304 stainless for rust resistance because, keep in mind, this still is a street car. But remember, our car already has some sort of wacky aftermarket exhaust on it, so we're going to have to get it up in the air, get it cut off, and see what it takes to fit this one up. We'll use an impact to loosen the rusty clamps, and our handy-dandy reciprocating saw chops the old exhaust into pieces so we can slide it out from under the car in sections.
Okay, so we have the entire kit mocked up in the car from the mufflers forward, and like Pat said, we're gonna have to do some modification to make the old stuff work with the new stuff. We cut out everything someone else had done before, and the way we're gonna connect everything is with a set of V-band clamps welded directly to the stock caps, because we do have to keep those to be legal in the class. So we have a set of V-bands tacked there, and then that will allow us to run the 3-inch unrestricted from there to the back of the car. So we'll get these fully welded, and then we can tighten everything for real.
With everything positioned exactly where we want it, we'll finish weld both sides of the V-bands, and then we can cinch down all of the clamps.
Okay, so with that, our exhaust is completely sealed up and done. So all we have to do is get this car down off the lift and over to the chassis dyno.
Coming up, we get our Mustang project back up on the dyno rollers to see what our upgrades translate to power at the tires.
All right, everybody, we have our 2008 Mustang GT strapped to the chassis dyno. So it is time to figure out what all our upgrades are going to add up to for power at the wheel. If you remember, we did a cold air intake, but we have a less restrictive air filter probably, and a divider wall to keep the hot air from going into it. And we went from a 2.5-inch straight-through exhaust to a 3-inch stainless with straight-through mufflers. But there is one last thing we have to do, and that is the flash tuner that came with the air intake.
Yes, this flash tuner came with our cold air kit as a Summit Racing combo. Flash tuners are very intuitive to use. You just plug them in and then follow the easy prompts, and it loads a specific tune that's set up for our cold air kit. So all we gotta do, plug it in. All right, key on. We're gonna program vehicle, Summit package, that's the one we want, and resend it. After it saves the stock data, then it's gonna go in, put the tune in. Data is saved. Preparing the new data. Turn key off. Oh, download is complete. Tune has been programmed successfully to vehicle. Turn key off. I guess we're good to go.
It's actually a little bit quieter.
It's actually quieter. I don't know.
I don't know. Sometimes the straight pipe is a little loud and maybe a little obnoxious.
I think I like that a little better.
Yeah, this might be a little nicer.
We want to be legal, so that's...
Go ahead and make a rip. See what happens.
Ooh, I like that shifter.
Yeah, that nice short throw.
Nice short throw. All right, let's see what we got here. Where we at? There we go.
I might have seen over 300 pound-feet. Hold on. Yep, 307 pound-feet and 283.49, basically and a half, horsepower. That's actually a pretty big improvement for just bolt-on, especially on torque.
Yeah, the graph looks really nice, comparatively speaking.
Yeah, here, let me overlay it. Yeah, there's the before, and then the after is the red line, so you can see, like, meat in the curve. That's a huge jump.
That's awesome.
So, I mean, that's, yeah, over 20 pound-feet in torque. For just like, I mean, I'd call that probably 2.5, 3 hours worth of work.
Yeah.
That's pretty solid.
No, it's
so.
pretty solid. Let's do another while we got her all warmed
Yeah,
up here.
back it up there and see what it does.
All right, here we go. Ooh, that's nice.
Solid rip.
What was that? 280.
289
Yeah.
and 306.
Ooh,
That
solid
is
improvement.
solid. Look, that's a solid graph too. Just like nice and smooth, carries power. I mean,
I'm very impressed on how smooth the graph looks.
yeah. I mean, it runs good. I mean, we didn't really get deep into the engine at all. It's basically just bolt-ons, but
Right.
that's
And
pretty
keep in
solid
mind,
improvements. and
we actually put mufflers on it.
I know
so
they're straight through mufflers,
They're
but
straight through mufflers,
it's
but we
quieter.
still added some mufflers. The pipe is bigger.
Yep.
But a little bit of a tunage on the handheld there, and solid improvement.
yeah,
Solid.
I mean, and it sounds good. Like I actually like it a little bit quieter. It still has that throaty sound, but it's
Yeah.
not like obnoxious and cackly. So I think that's win-win-win all the way around. For bolt-ons, you can't really ask for much more.
Nope.
I mean, that gives you a nice, easy power band that you can play with on track, but you're not gonna get yourself in trouble. Like if you're a starting driver, you don't need 500 at the wheel because you're gonna put it in the ditch pretty freaking quick. But
Yeah.
you know, for that power range, you can go out and thrash on it super hard and not have to worry about it. So
And this thing, that's a great tune. It's still a street car. This is still a street car.
yeah, I mean, yeah, easy peasy. You know, the clutch is nice to drive.
Yeah.
Car's easy to drive still and everything. So
This is
man.
this is going to be pretty cool. Now we have other improvements to do, but that's going to come up very, very soon.
Yeah, I think this is probably going to be where we stop for today. We got safety and power. Those are two really important things. And now we need, you know, handling and stopping, which are also pretty important. So I think we'll tackle those next time. But for now, I think that's solid.
All right, that's a great success.
Heck yeah. Last time.
We've got passion, we've got determination.
You want the protection of a...
Legend of Total War here, and today we've got a saving a disaster situation playing as the Tomb Kings, where we'll be going up against Thoric Ironbrow, where he is bringing a hell of a lot of melee infantry that are high tier, heavily armored, high morale, very dangerous units for the Tomb Kings to deal with. And his army is a cobbled together, quote-unquote, balanced army that, in my opinion, doesn't stand a chance in a standard sort of a fight. So let's read out the email firstly, get some context, and then we'll find a solution to this. It says, "Hi Legend, I've always wanted to play the Tomb Kings, they just look cool as hell, but after spending more time with them, I've found the gameplay to be a bit dry. I've made decent progress, but having to overwhelm the enemies with endless waves of low tier units gets boring fast. I've built what I think are solid armies, not full doomstacks, but balanced forces that should hold their own. Yet every time the dwarves, especially Thoric, absolutely crush me, unless I overwhelm them with numbers. By the end of the turn, he's attacking my city again, and no matter what strategy I try, I just can't seem to deal with that bearded menace. All I really know is that I need to snipe those Trollhammer torpedoes with my Sharpie Great Bows and avoid Thoric himself as much as possible. My friend and I have been racking our heads trying to come up with a plan, but no luck so far. You can use any resources or tools you want, I just need a solid plan before Thoric wrecks me again." Okay, so just a couple of things about the email here. Gives me a bit of an indication of where you might be struggling a little bit. There is nothing wrong with the army that you've built, but it might help if you don't underestimate the danger that you're in. If you don't underestimate the situation and instead recognize that you're in a serious threat, you might do a little bit better in these scenarios going forward. See, what I noticed here is that you said balanced forces that should hold their own. When I looked at this, the first thing I thought was, there's no way that this should hold their own, because you have to understand how the game does work as opposed to how the game should work. You've got units that stand absolutely no chance at all of doing anything to this army. So all of these melee infantry are only ever going to eat shit against the dwarves here, which means bringing them to the battle is a mistake. Now, obviously, playing as the Tomb Kings, there's a limit to how many certain units that you can recruit, and so you overcome that with numbers. So you've already sort of recognized that the dwarves, you're going to have to use like 2 armies to fight just one of them, unless of course you use some really difficult tactics to pull off, which is what we have to do in this battle here, because you've brought an army that in a fair fight situation will just lose. So we then need to not fight fairly, basically. All right, so in these sort of situations, we need to recognize what our weaknesses are, what their weaknesses are, what our strengths are, and what their strengths are. So their strengths are brute force, right? Head-on attack with these ones here. We need to avoid that. So these units here, this is our weakness. So archers are fine, but they just don't do enough armor-piercing damage, and they're only going to scratch at these guys here. Maybe they could do some damage to the slayers, but they're quick, so they'll get in quite quickly. So these are our weakness in this army. Now, you're sitting inside of the settlement. You just capture it, yep. Which, if they attack us from over here, we will not be able to withdraw units from the battlefield. So instead, let's stand outside the settlement, and that way we'll have the option to withdraw those units from the battlefield. Now, honestly, I think this battle would be easier if I was to disband these units here, and this one for that matter. I actually think I would do a better job if that was the case. However, I'm going to try to keep your army intact, but at the same time, recognize this is the weakness in your army. Everything else is a strength, because you've got speed on these ones here. That's something that they can't deal with. We're too quick for them. This one here is a bit of a problem in this battle here, because it's big and it's anti-large, so it's good only against Thoric. That being said, it's melee attack, if we have a look at it, 62 plus the bonus versus large, so it's nearly 100 against his melee defense. Okay, it will be pretty good against Thoric, because it's also magical attack, right? Yep. And he's got flame resistance, doesn't he? Yeah, only 15%. So that flame attack there is actually pretty, not helpful against Thoric at all. That actually reduces our damage output. But anyway, that's what we use to fight Thoric. We have to make sure they're not interrupted by anything else. You're completely correct that we need to get rid of the Iron Drake Trollhammer torpedoes, and that the Ushabti Great Bows may actually be the right call. Now, if we have a look over here, they've got this ability called Snipe. This unit remains hidden while firing. So that is only useful when they're hiding in a forest. However, if they had the ability Stalk, then they could just fire anywhere, and the AI won't be able to really do anything about it because they won't notice it. And so, luckily for you, if you go into the banner section, there's a banner here, Uwalap's Order, that gives Stalk to assign units. And since you said I could use any resources I want, I'm going to use your Canopic Jars to get 2 of these, because that's all we can get. This will allow us to use these Ushabti Great Bows. Basically, this is how we gain a bit of bounce power, basically. Now, I can only use 2 banners, but we've got 3 of these units. Now, because they're evenly spread out with damage, I guess you've been auto-resolving, I don't know. What we want to do here is make sure that 2 of our units are particularly strong, and just leave 1 of them a little bit weakened. So these 2 here will get the banner, that one won't. Now, another thing is that you don't have any equipment on these guys here. So you've got a little bit here, just take it off people that are not under any serious threat. We'll take the Talisman of Endurance. I know there's a Talisman of Preservation there, but I want that Battle Healing Cap. We will use the Talisman of Preservation. As for the enchanted item, I'll take the speed one, that will be helpful. Skeleton Chariot's good because of the anti-infantry, but we're lacking in armor piercing. Not really that much I can do about it though.
Well, I think that's what we're going to leave off tonight.
Don't forget to actually equip these banners, kind of need them. We'll also take the Razor's Standard, although I don't expect to do much with them either. Okay, so this guy here, Wizard, we've got 35, it will be 40 Winds of Magic. I'm not expecting this one to really do anything, so just don't bother equipping him. As for this one, get Gambler's Armor. You can have Gold's Dagger. Actually, go back to this one. I'll put the Glittering Scales on him. You get the Talisman of Preservation, and the enchanted item, you can have a Potion of Healing, I guess. Okay, cool. Alright. What battle difficulty are we on? On maximum? Yeah, that's another thing we've got to keep in mind as well. when you're dealing with the enemy, they're adding in an additional 10% melee attack and melee defense, and extra leadership, and you're suffering a small leadership penalty on that. So since your units